Yes, sir. It is DPL, the Devil's Puck Luck Podcast. We're coming up here in just 1 second. We dive in on Simon Nemec. He's played well at the Prospects Challenge. How does he look in training camp? And is he, in fact, making a push for that opening day roster spot? We dive in next. Yes, sir. It is the Devil's Puck Luck Podcast, DPL, coming to you on a Saturday night special. Saturday, get this one out to you. Or, of course, we are your host over here, Adam Armbrecht, breaking down the Brooklyn Nets on the Locked On Nets podcast. Also, for better or worse, your New York Football Giants on the One Giant podcast. He is the pulse of the fan base, the 20-plus year season ticket holder, Mr. Danny McDonough. How are we, sir?
I'm good. Good to be it's good to be here. You know, I'm excited to jump in. We got a couple of days before the preseason opener. We got camp in full effect.
Yes.
Practices, prospect challenges to talk about. We got a lot to talk about.
It's gonna be busy.
Yeah, I love it.
Can't waste time. No lollygagging.
Sorry about your Giants, by the way.
Right into the heart of the conversation.
Sorry about your Giants, but I'm a Jets fan, so we'll move past that. Let's talk.
I'll apologize. I'll apologize for you tomorrow. Bottom line is, there has been, as Danny was saying, a lot that's gone on here. We're going to break these down. So if you're over on YouTube or on the podcast feed, 3 separate discussions. This one's about Nemec. Then we're going to talk about Clark. Then we're also going to talk about organizational decisions that are being made in the background, guys on 1-year contracts currently, and especially the manager behind the bench there in Lindy Ruff. But so follow us on all that good stuff. Let's talk about Simon Nemec. Over the course of this offseason, you and I talked about what became kind of the hot name, Alexander Holtz. Sure. He seemed like he was poised to have an opportunity. Now we come through the Prospect Challenge. We get into training camp. Where do you stand on Simon Nemec, who 2 months ago was like, I want to make the roster. That's what I'm going for, a roster spot. And you and I both said, well, you love the mentality. You love the spunk from the kid, but let's just wait and see. Are we starting now to see what we were waiting for?
Listen, any young kid, it's a great thing for the confidence, just to say that his goal is always going to be to make the NHL squad. He's a young kid. We know he's a young kid. But he is showing us that he is the real deal, and, you and I talked, obviously, before we started to record, it's if he does make the NHL roster, which, listen, we can't rule it out, obviously. If he does make the NHL roster, is it worth keeping him on the big NHL Devils team or putting him down to Utica where he's going to play every day? Meaning we don't want him just to play 2 games out of every 8. We want him to be a staple in the lineup. So there's that big question mark. But Nemec looks absolutely awesome. From the scrimmaging, the practicing, you see that this kid is going to be absolutely phenomenal, and he's going to be a staple in this Devils organization for years to come.
Wanted to remind people, going back to the draft class and what he was as a player profile, these are coming across from NHL.com. It's coming across from NHL Rumors, a whole bunch of different outlets. The Athletic also in these as well. When you hear things that get thrown out, right-handed shot with outstanding 2-way game and is close to being NHL ready. That's going into the draft when we talk about him. The right-handed shot plays big minutes and brings excellent mobility, balance, puck handling, and skating to create openings for teammates. There's also other commentary around this when we go back, especially I think maybe from the Athletic. Nemec is a calculated and poised 3-zone defender who is capable of organizing play from the top of the zone, executing through seams and coverage at a high level, and starting and leading his fair share of rushes. I want to kind of drill down on that aspect of it because he is in the mold of a 2-way player that the Devils organization has always prided themselves on having.
Sure, of course.
Is that point stop, let alone that he comes in as being a guy that thinks NHL ready pretty quickly, but the fact that he's in the right mold of something that the Devils are still trying to get back to a little bit with all the high-level talent they have. Not a lot of 2-way guys in the same mold.
Dougie Hamilton, you compare to Luke Hughes a little bit, and you can compare Nemec to reaching the Scotty Niedermayer level, as a 2-way defensive player. Right? And it's he's showing flashes that he is going to be, to me, I think, so let's say in 4 or 5 years, he is going to be on that number 1 pairing. He's going to be on the number 1 pairing. I think he's going to be one of the faces of this organization. Obviously, with the guys we have locked up long term, that's how confident I am, in Nemec. I go back to what I was saying. I thought he was going to start the year in AHL and he's going to play a full season in the AHL. I'm not sure now.
Yeah.
You see what he's doing in these scrimmages and you see what he's doing, in the Prospect Challenge, doing at practice. He has really made a name for himself, even more so than I think anyone expected. We all knew he was going to be flashy. We all knew that you were going to see the talent, But to see it on the level that we're seeing it, we saw some plays with him and Clark. We saw some plays with him and
Yeah.
Foot. We saw some really nice movement, and him really controlling the blue line and setting up the plays like you're talking about and what we expected of him. So, listen, I would love to see him on the NHL team. I'm not as certain that he's going to start in the AHL. I think there's a very big possibility he can make this club. I want him to play though every day, So if you're going to sit here and tell me that Lindy Ruff is going to juggle the defensive pairings and he's only going to play 1 or 2 games out of 5 or 6,
You'd like that.
I prefer him
I
prefer him in the AHL. I want him to get the minutes. I want him to get the game experience, and obviously playing in Utica is very different than playing, with the Devils.
Mhm.
But you want him to get those games. So for me, unless he is going to be in the lineup consistently, I want him in the AHL.
We'll talk about what does consistency look like at the NHL level. Do I agree with Danny on that front? And if he's playing at the NHL level, how does it impact those pairings on the defensive end? Where do we want to see him play? Who's going to suffer from minutes? And how do we balance the high-level competitive team we want to be and also making sure we're bringing these prospects along? We'll get into that coming up here in just 1 second after we tell you about our friends over at DraftKings, because we're back with another week of football, and DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in on the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw down $5 on any of this Sunday's big epic matchups, and you're going to go ahead and walk away an instant winner, even if you lost, which I did. That's not the point. Bottom line is DraftKings isn't just stopping there. All customers can also take advantage of 2 new offers every single game day throughout September. So you're going to get to have Sundays, put in the app, look it up. You're going to find new parlays, new opportunities, big opportunities to get some bets in, hopefully win some money. I don't do well on this, Dan, but we all know you can root against and bet against the New York Jets coming up on Sunday. Football is more fun when you're in on the action. So download the app now and sign up with code
THPN.
He got there. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, with code
THPN.
The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-359. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hills Casino and Resort, licensed partner of Golden Nugget Lakes Charles, 21 plus, age verified by jurisdiction, void in Ontario, Canada. We apologize to the North. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility, terms, and responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance, and eligibility and deposit restrictions. Why? They do.
You know what's crazy?
Talk to me, Goose.
I wonder if people are literally betting on the NHL preseason, the first couple games that are in Australia, which is absolutely awesome.
That is incredible. We can just give a quick little nod to that there. That the game is expanding into
I love it. Listen, there's so many different possibilities, with all major sports, and to see the NHL actually step foot in Australia and play some games. And you love to see that the fans are super excited about it.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it great. Obviously the NFL is expanding, into London. They've been doing that for years now, which is
Germany as well.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. So I love that everything is becoming more and more international, and especially a place that is not obviously known for hockey.
Yeah. Good stuff.
100%.
Good for hockey. Anyway, back to Nemec though. So, to your point about it, so this is where I think you and I disagree a little bit. Now, it does come down to the consistency of opportunities.
Sure.
We get it, and we know that Lindy Ruff was very more than willing to go ahead and mix those lines up. I think I'll associate it back to a couple of different reasons why I would like to have him on the opening day roster, and hopefully maybe within a month and a half of the season, we start to see a minutes increase in a very defined role. Now, that's going to come down to a Miller. It's going to come down to a Smith and what happens there with them being healthy scratches. But I just think that he brings such a key element, like when we had talked about Luke Hughes last year, helping the power play. That's been a real struggle. This is a guy that maybe even unlike Luke Hughes in this regard can help set up those power play opportunities. So you could be talking about adding a young player on both power play units that flips what was let's be honest, a massive negative on the Devils season last year and turn it into a positive very quickly in a way that I don't think a Miller, I don't think a Smith is ever going to be capable of doing.
Right. And I understand your point completely. Obviously you're going to get more of the two-way defensive player. However, I think you need that veteran presence in Smith and in Miller to be in the lineup on that third pairing, to be a shut it down defensive guy. Listen, Smith, for as much as people ripped on him, myself included, he
Yeah.
took some terrible penalties. He played well defensively down the stretch when he was called on by Ruff in the playoffs and right before the playoffs. And he did take penalties, stupid penalties.
Yep.
But I think you still need that as something going forward, opening day, opening night for the Devils. I just think that Nemec, it's a great thought. It's phenomenal to think about. And listen, it is still a massive possibility that he's on this team to start, the year. And at the end of the day, he might be on the team and he might be scratched, and that's fine. But I still am a firm believer. I want this kid to play a full season. And I think the only way he's going to play a full season right now is in the AHL.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the difference between how many reps he would get at the
Right.
NHL level versus the AHL, obviously, right? He's going to be in there being a full-time starter at the AHL level.
What is not for nothing? It could be very similar to what happened with Luke Hughes, where Nemec is coming up.
And that's where we'll close out our discussion on Nemec, because while Luke Hughes, we know, is still competing in college and finished up the winter run there and then came and joined the team. So there was a timeline crunch there no matter what for him. There's not a timeline crunch for Nemec. He's available to be with the team immediately. And in that regard, I think if you look at this roster and you think that, hey, we feel like we've improved ourselves in several key areas, replaced a lot of departures that were critical, okay, good. But now I want to know, as I head down the home stretch, as maybe some veterans need a day of rest here or there, that I have a young player that I can call up and insert to that role, let alone injuries and otherwise. So I don't know what the threshold would be, but what would be your minimum games played for Nemec at the NHL level for you to feel comfortable with him being up the entire year? Never goes to the AHL. He's up. He's playing with the Devils. He's going to be healthy scratched at times. What's your game minimum?
He's got to play 35 to 40 games. He's got to play half the season. It's if he comes up and he's only playing 18 to 20 games, like, it's great to have him at the NHL level, but he's not going to get those reps. He's not going to get that consistency to really develop his game where we want him to develop his game.
Yeah.
I think you and I agree that if there are injuries on the defensive core, that you're going to see Nemec come up. I think that you could see Cal Foote come up as well for that more, obviously veteran presence. There's a little bit of a slippery slope here, right? Do you want to throw him into the fire mid-season if someone's injured?
Right.
Or do you want to start him at the NHL level and see what he can do for the first few weeks of the year? And listen, if he needs more development and he's just not fitting in the way we want him to fit in, send him back to the AHL and we're fine with it.
Right.
And that's the thing. So, to me, listen, our defensive guys aren't going to play 82 games each. Like, they're not going to play a full season. It's the way the NHL works. There's injuries, lower body and upper body injuries can happen. They can linger for a couple weeks, and you're going to get guys to get some reps that are coming up from the AHL. I'm still believing that he's going to play in the NHL, but I am hopeful. I don't want to say hopeful. I'm optimistic for him that he can make this team.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that I would be in camp, have him up here, have him ready to go, have him playing every fifth or sixth game potentially over the first month and a half. So to your point, you say you want to play 35 games at the NHL level. Well, guess what? I can get 8 to 10 of those over the first half of the season and then see him take over. And I don't think you have to squint too hard and say, would you be ready, willing, and excited to say, Smith, you are now a healthy scratch. Nemec, you are now going to be a part of what we do, right? It'd be very easy to transition that.
Smith knows his role.
And that's what I mean.
Smith is a guy that can come in and out of the lineup,
right.
and he's going to be prepared because he has that mentality and that veteran presence to know what his role is as an NHLer. He knows what he's going to do. He's going to help teach the young kids. He's going to step in when he needs to step in. And listen, Smith could be on the opening day starting 6 defenseman. He could be on that third pairing. If not him, it's going to be Miller. So it's really exciting to see what's going to happen, but I'm super excited for Nemec. I think he's having a great development camp, playing well in scrimmages, and prospect challenge. It's all a great step forward for this young kid, and he's going to get bigger. He's going to fill out. He's going to be bigger. He's going to be stronger in years to come. So the future is bright.
From Chris Peters at Daily Faceoff, Nemec is clearly an intelligent offensive defenseman who defends at an average level. If we want to be balanced about this, he is best with the puck on a stick, pushing pucks up ice and making plays. The offensive toolkit and offensive sense he possesses is clearly advanced for his age.
Wow, yeah.
We'll dive in a little bit deeper when we talk about Graham Clark and the offensive side of things for the Devils, and maybe what could be a building philosophy entering this season. So what you're going to want to do is get over to Twitter or X, whichever you want to refer to it as.
I still call it Twitter.
Still feels a little bit weird and a little bit dirty. You get over there where it's at Danny the Face. It's at Adam Armbrecht. It's also at NJ Devils PL. Then you can get over to Instagram, to TikTok, and to something else,
Facebook.
probably Facebook as well.
Snapchat
Actually,
too.
Snapchat too. But
We're
the
everywhere.
Facebook one is a really good one. We said we've been putting out like some clips out of our episodes so you get a sense of where we're going. We'll probably do maybe some live look-in things that may go exclusively to there. Certainly that are going to go exclusively out onto our Instagram page as well. So you follow us on all these things.
You know what maybe we
at,
should do
Devil's
is
Puck Club.
maybe we'll do like a quick intermission at some games, do a Facebook Live thing for maybe 5 minutes or so in the intermissions. Just
That
on
sounds
Facebook Live.
really good too.
Yeah.
And we'll tell you this over these next couple of shorter episodes that we're doing. We are going to be at the preseason game on the
Monday,
25th.
yeah.
So we're going to be there for the preseason game, probably do something from there as well. Come out. We feel like we're developing an identity where people should come out and say hi to us.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting because we're going to see a split squad, you know, so I'm
Yes.
excited who we're going to see. We're going to see a lot of young kids. So it's even more exciting for you and I who love the development. We love seeing the young kids in the AHL and really seeing the growth and development of these young players. So it's exciting.
You had better believe it. And just like Nemec on the ice, let Simon say that he will play opening day. We'll see you next time, friends.